Hi, everybody. We here at McStabber Studios appreciate you tuning in to see our tabletop RPG streams. Some of the content of our streams may be a bit mature and cause emotional responses in viewers. We really take the well-being of our viewers very seriously, and we want you to do what you need to if something triggers you. Mute the stream, take a break, or just skip an episode. Otherwise, if you decide to stay tuned in, we are available in chat during the streams to talk you through it if you need that. Thank you so much, and we hope you enjoy this game session.
Why dost thou sit upon my grave and will dead lips to speak? Why dost thou weep upon my grave and will not let me sleep? My breast it is as cold as clay, my breath is earthly strong, and if you kiss my cold clay lips, your days they won't be long. How oft on yonder grave, sweetheart, where we were wont to walk, the fairest flower that e'er I saw has withered to a stalk. When will we meet again, sweetheart? When will we meet again? When the autumn leaves that fall from trees are green and spring up again. How oft on yonder grave, sweetheart, where we were wont to walk, the fairest flower that e'er I saw has withered to a stalk.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to McStabber Studios' Wraith Life Derailed Cast Q&A. I am, of course, Shanky McStabber. We'll do our introductions. I hope you all know who we are by now, but
I guess you're waiting on me, so I ought to quit typing.
About to say, damn jerk.
Hi, I'm Tam, and I play Isaac Candy when I'm paying attention.
I'm Ravenia, and I play Margot Fallon.
I'm Tam, and I play Isaac King. Oh, wait, sorry. I'm House, and I play Noah Frost.
I'm Relyn Dare, Shanky's wife, and I play Alexis Langley.
I'm Urian, and I play Tark Tiernan.
And I'm Evie Eternal, and I play Aurora Walker.
so yes, the very first question was Leshote. No costumes? No, not tonight. Other than me, who always, it does no good for me to be on stream without my outfit because I get distracted.
He wears that out in public, so.
Yes.
I am 100% down with dressing Victorian goth in public. I have no
He
problem
actually
with that.
never takes it off.
Except
Even
to
in
wear,
the shower?
Well, you know, sometimes in the shower. Except to
wanna-
wear
I
that
don't wanna
V
know.
costume.
I don't want to know where else he wears it.
I don't know,
Please
the
stop.
V costume I actually had it on
My
under the
X
V
card.
costume. So, thank you all for coming. This is the cast Q&A at the end of season 1. We like to do these because it gives a chance for the viewers to ask any questions you have about what would possess people to play this game. Plus, it allows you to ask Lance, why are you like this?
And Tam, why are you like this?
And because of the nature, excuse me, I'm like obsessing because, as I said before stream, my hair was driving me nuts today, and
He has a thing about his hair. If y'all didn't know, now you know.
now you know.
It's
I
like
have to
his
pin it back.
one
I
thing
wouldn't
he's like
know.
super vain about and like
Dan
obsessive about.
Dan wouldn't know. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask. If you can highlight them. If not, Relin generally tries to keep an eye on this.
I stay on track.
So
with it.
we'll see. Of course,
On
sometimes the
track.
cast will ask questions of each other. And
Pun intended.
yeah, pun intended. So if you're not in chat, I don't know how you're going to ask questions. I mean, you can always
you can
ask
always
on
do
Discord.
it in the Discord. So.
Carrier pigeon.
Carrier
Carrier
pigeon. That
Cans on a string.
that generally kind of works, but I don't think if you send a carrier pigeon, it will get here in time. I'm pretty sure we would get it. I heard that, Dan. So as you can see, when we do Q&As, you get to see the real people behind the characters because we're not in character. So you get to see more of the real person. I have had a thought. I want to tell the cast this. I would love to see at some point where we do in-character discussions about events of a season. Kind of like, you know, the infamous, what is it? The Big Brother confession room kind of a thing.
Oh, that's funny. That
I've
would
thought
be
of doing that
awesome.
in character because it would be very interesting to hear the in-character responses.
I think
to some of
after
the shit.
season 1 would be a little too soon, but maybe after season 2 that might be something because season 1 literally encompassed like 2 days tops. So
And we have a question already.
All right.
I'll let Relin read it.
So, Danny Ducat says, what was the most fun thing about playing the shadow characters and what was the hardest part? We can go around, so we can start with Tam.
Oh yeah, put me on the spot.
Yeah.
What was the most fun thing about it? The most fun thing about it is when something would come up and I would actually be able to get a zinger in on Alexis, and you would see it because Relin would stop and just look at the camera for a minute like, you asshole. That was good. The hardest part is really trying to come up with what to do because you want to be hard on the character, but then you realize how hard you're being on the person. And I mean, you know, you get those zingers like that and you do it and you see the response and then you're kind of like, I hope I didn't really piss him off.
No, Tam, you at no point pissed off Relin. You might have pissed off Alexis, but not Relin. Okay.
Alexis was talking about throwing herself off a cliff.
Thelma and
just to shut
Louise
'em up.
style.
Which, in the Wraith world, unless you're throwing yourself off a cliff into the Maw of Oblivion, I don't think it'll fucking work. But what do I know?
All right. Ravenna.
For me, I play really nice characters. So being an asshole is really weird.
You're so good at it.
Yeah, you were impressive at times.
Gosh.
I'm familiar with two of your characters so
No,
far.
that's what I.
And when do you play really nice characters? Because it hasn't been on stream.
I haven't had the opportunity to play a really nice person on stream yet.
Yes, you have. You played a very nice person on Spectre Olafet's.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
Changeling game.
no. She was low key undercutting the issue, okay?
Yeah.
The issue was always there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can pick that hat and put it on and
Yeah.
take it off. I can do that.
She's a storyteller
Danny
too.
Ducat, I will say that without the ghost. No, I will. I don't know if you watch Haunted Chronicles, my character did not like her character at all.
Oh,
Yeah, but your character's just cranky.
Oh, yeah.
So what
He's
was
old.
what was your
That's
most
a
fun
bitch.
part of it, Ravenia?
the hardest
Well,
part.
which was the
most
fun
fun.
part? Being an
Oh, most
asshole?
fun?
Or was that the hardest part? Or was it the fun part?
Weirdly, it was being able to say shit like that. Like I said, I don't get to play assholes very often. So being the shadow of someone that is kind of assholey when he's not cracking jokes was really entertaining, and just seeing if I could pull it off, because that was the one thing I was really nervous about, is could I actually play the shadow right?
Mm-hmm.
And apparently I'm a horrible monster.
Yeah, I think you'd even mentioned your hubs was like, where did that come from?
Yeah, he was like, was that you?
Yeah, I've been saving it up.
literally was like, did you just say? And I'm like, I was like, okay.
So Dan, how about you?
Yeah, so the hardest part was just restrain. I'm playing a shadow that is trying to be, essentially it's just a big old gaslight to their psyche. So it's not overplaying my hand when I probably could have talked twice as much as I did, and just even trying to cut back a little bit and being more pointed with the times I do talk was probably the hardest thing. No, playing that shadow's a blast just in general. Just nothing I dislike about it. I mean, do I feel bad as a player, like messing with another player? Sure, a little bit, but like, it's fun playing the shadow as a character that's very opposite of stuff I've played before.
And for me, the shadow, I will say, the most fun part of it, I would have to say, well, probably of all the things, because I played the most reserved of the shadows, and I did that intentionally once I started getting a vibe for the table, because everybody else's shadows were so mouthy. And I knew that if I held back and only said things at opportune moments, it would make more impact for Noah. Because one, everybody else is complaining about a shadow in the beginning, and he's not hearing anything. Makes him feel different. That puts him on edge. Yeah.
You can sit now. No, you can stay quiet all you want. He is happy. He is thrilled that he's not hearing the voice.
But the times when I did speak up as his shadow, it made major impact. He started questioning things like, one of the first opportunities where he came face to face with his shadow was actually during a harrowing. Yeah. And that was of his design. He caused that harrowing, but you know what? She's like, let me teach you a lesson. Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of Silent Bob. Basically, I kind of went Silent Bob with his shadow, because his shadow I don't think would be one that it just rambles all the time. I think it would be one that is very economic with the words and makes the most impact.
I'm not saying anything that Raylan doesn't know now. I think the one thing that's going to be a challenge, and I don't even think in a bad way, is finding ways to do that still, because the harrowing really messed with Noah, and he is super skeeved about everything in Wraith world. So it's like he's when she talks, it's like, okay, what's your angle here now? He's not the only moment he was really inclined to pay attention was that last maybe 20 minutes in the last session. Otherwise, it's like
always second guessing. Yeah.
But you got to worry, because she's got some thorns she hasn't busted out yet as your shadow.
Yeah. Your shadow's been holding back.
Yeah. Some of them are some pretty dangerous shit, to be honest.
But no, and the hardest part is figuring out the right technique. Because while you create a shadow character, you create this kind of persona at the start of a game, and none of us had played this game before. So we're going into it, and our actual psyche characters kind of evolved over the course of this season, and we had to constantly tweak how we approach the shadow with it. Some of us were able to remain a little more consistent from start to finish because it just really worked. But some of us had to kind of adapt some techniques to make it hit more when we pulled out that shadow. And so that was probably the hardest part about it, was being able to adapt your technique and not get stuck in a rut and play the same card every single time. Okay, and Yuri?
Thanks for saying everything.
Don't call him urine. Urian.
Say it, Lance.
Thank you. But also, shut up, Tam. But thanks for saying everything that could be said about it, Alexis. No, seriously, the fun parts are getting the zingers in, like the low key undercutting of Margot. And see. But genuinely, it's difficult when you've got a set of goals that the Wraith or the Shadow is working towards to kind of move the psyche towards, and you try not to overplay your hand, try not to push them too hard, so that they become too aware of what you're trying to do to them. But trying to always do it subtly. That was the hard.
Thank you for the Raid Tabletop Anthologies. Tonight, we're not actually playing. We actually finished Season 1 last week. Tonight is our cast Q&A. So if anybody who's in this raid has questions about Wraith, about how we handled the mechanics, or how this sick group of people played, please go ahead and ask, because we have finished. Yeah, it's the opportunity, because we like to do an end-of-season Q&A for people because, well, it's Wraith and not many people get to do it.
And currently we are answering a question that one of our viewers had about what we considered the most fun part of playing a shadow and what was the hardest part of playing a shadow.
Now, we've heard Lance's fun part.
Yeah.
I want to hear Urian, Tark, his hardest part of being a shadow.
Well, I was just telling you that. Just the goals that you have as a shadow in trying to manipulate the psyche. I mean, you need to do this, get under their skin to do it, but you don't want to overdo it, because then they start overthinking about how you're trying to control them. And it stays so much easier if you're more subtle about it.
Like Alexis is already with her shadow. She's like, okay, what the fuck are you doing now? Mm-hmm. Paranoid. No, that's absolutely true. Evie, same question for you.
Well, the most fun thing is finding those needles, finding those
do tell.
Those difficult things that you can rake them over the coals about. Tark was talking about, Urian was talking about subtlety. His shadow was not subtle. It was from the start adversarial, very adversarial, and then started to needle in like, hey, I might be an asshole, but I know what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
And then starting to get into agree just a little, just a bit. And then talking with the other shadows, of course, is always very fun. The hardest part is definitely finding an appropriate space. It's hard to constantly put yourself in your character's space and then immediately into your shadow space, especially when you're playing a character who's fairly nice and passive and a little bit gullible, and then going to like a hateful monster who just wants to hurl insults. So it is a lot of fun though. So I had a really good time. And I can't wait to have fun with my good friend next season.
He's looking forward to it too.
Hell yeah.
And as storyteller, I want to say, one of the, for me, watching the shadow play, talking about the most fun part for me, honestly, as storyteller, has been watching the shadows evolve. Because we'd never played Wraith. We were all brand new to it. So watching the shadows in the first episode and seeing those first moments they spoke, And as we get through the 10 episodes we've done for season 1, seeing that evolution has been amazing to watch as a storyteller. And part of the reason I think the hard part of the shadow, from what I've been observing, is I'll be honest, there's a lot of tables out there I don't think could have the proper dynamic for a shadow. I've already admitted before publicly, now I'll admit it again, I could not be a player in Wraith. I am the type who would take the shadow shit personally. I'd like to claim I wouldn't. I'd like to claim I'm better than that. I'm not. And I admit this about myself. So I couldn't be a player. I'm happy I had players that do it. So props off to all of you. As you can see the way we're joking and talking when we're out of characters. Yeah. This table doesn't take any of this shadow personally. They actually enjoy the kind of stuff that's going on for the whole season, which is
because
amazing.
We're all masochists. We like the abuse.
Oh, masochist, 100%.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a question from Astral.
Do you mind? Sorry for interjecting.
Yeah.
There was one from Tabletop Anthologies that I think still tied into the shadow stuff.
Yeah.
About which of us was the asshole shadow.
All of
us. And I think I want to kind of twist up the question a little bit. I think it would be good for everyone if we kind of described what umbrella our shadow fell under, because they're all described in, like, mine was the voice of hope. The voice of hope. So like going through what each of our shadows' identity was, and then
which I have to say, one thing we've talked about off camera with the cast is we're going to be probably tweaking the shadows at the end of this, because all of us went dry into the game. We'd never played. Now that we've done 10 episodes and people felt the evolution of the character, we'll be tweaking bits and pieces of the character sheet side of the shadows between season. But what you're going to see is still going to be what they've been doing, because we're just going to make the character sheets match the personalities the shadows have been. And I guess if we're doing that question, we should start the other end. Start with Aurora this time.
Sure.
Though we know what kind of a shadow she was.
I don't remember the name for it, but it's basically the belligerent asshole.
I think you were the abuser.
The abuser, yeah, the belligerent abuser. That's pretty much it.
And I have something to comment on that, because when we were creating, when the characters created the characters, the shadows were present with the character creation. They were created at the same time, knew the backstories. And Aurora goes, I think I want your shadow to be the abuser, Tark. And the first words out of Tark's mouth is, I love it, let's do that. So when Evie offered to start abusing Urian, his first response is, bring it on. So you talk about the masochist at the table. Now, for those that don't understand, it gets a little confusing at times. Margot was Isaac's shadow. Isaac was Alexis's shadow. Alexis was Noah's shadow. Noah was Aurora's shadow. Aurora was Tark's shadow. And Tark was Margot's shadow. So you can actually look at the layout on the screen. You start at Margot and just start doing a zigzag pattern, and you can find the shadow path that way.
Yeah. Okay, so Evie played the abuser of Tark. Tark, you played what of Margot?
I play the Stormcrow.
Which is always picking fault at what she does and finding, no matter what she does, it was wrong.
Yeah, and emphasizing that as much as possible.
You're really good at that, by the way.
I played the obsessed. Basically, with Noah, he went with a certain nature and demeanor that having a shadow that was obsessed with accomplishing things would have fit very well for him. So I went with that. And with the fact that we only really carried over not even a full 48 hours in our first season, I didn't really get to fully explore that obsession a bit much with the shadow, but that will come out more in season 2, because that shadow is very obsessed with something and is trying to guide Noah to do this on his own. But if that doesn't work, it will force him. So. And Dan?
I was the voice of hope for Aurora, played by Evie Eternal. really my whole goal was to convince her that she was still alive, and this was all some sort of comatose dream. And I hate spoiling it since we have a lot of cool new people who I'm glad to see here, but some tricks were done to really reinforce that, oh, maybe she's not dead, even though, yeah, she's dead. So I've had a lot of fun playing off of that. And after this, if we run low on questions, I have a question for Evie about her relationship to her shadow.
I will say, Dan, I loved watching how every opportunity you had as Shadow, any chance you got, you were laying into Aurora about you're still alive. If there was anything that might make her think she was dead, you were quick to jump right in there and say, no, you're still alive. You're still alive.
That response time was
good.
excellent.
It was so good. I love it.
Yep.
All right. So, Ravinia, you were
I was the perfectionist
for
Isaac,
yes.
who was played by Tam. So I'm pointing out everything that Isaac has done in the past that's wrong, and everything he's currently doing that's wrong.
So Dave's an asshole.
Yeah. 100%. Dave is a fucking asshole.
And then we get
For those that don't know, Dave is the name that Tam/Isaac gave his shadow.
Yeah.
He actually named his shadow. He said, because if you're going to hate someone, as much as he started to hate his shadow, it should have a name so that he can properly address who he hates.
It's kind of gone around, and Margot has done the same.
And Alexis did the same. So now let's get to the cunt in her head.
That is actually what Alexis has named her shadow, cunt.
And cunt.
Bertha. Just FYI to anyone named Bertha, I don't actually know a Bertha, but it just seemed appropriate.
Could have been Bernice.
Oh no, we're not doing that. I'm not doing what the shadow wants.
How do you know what the shadow wants? The shadow's you.
Because the shadow told me that he preferred Bertha, and then went, no, I actually preferred Bernice.
Maybe you preferred the shadow's you. So
yeah. Who knows?
The shadow knows.
The shadow knows.
Oh, geez.
By the way, went in dry. Really, Shanky? I couldn't keep it straight.
Keep it straight.
I'm so used to it because I'm married to him that I just ignore it.
Look, some people at this table are the kings of puns and sometimes the queens of puns. I am the king of dirty innuendo, so deal with it.
Okay,
Just
so
get to
Tam.
How about you?
Yes, Tam, please.
Oh, my goal for the shadow was I was trying to be ultra supportive.
Now that was a crock of shit.
Yeah.
Let me get some shovels and roll up my pants.
To doubt.
I was reinforcing Alexis's own personality as a perfectionist. So I was trying to be supportive in that and point out every place where she fell short of those goals of perfection.
I didn't realize we had two perfectionists.
Yeah, he actually went director for the shadow.
Yeah.
Director.
Oh,
So-
But it's been tweaked to some. I think he's going to probably change it more to the perfectionist. I think because that's closer to what ended up playing. Like I said, we didn't, how the shadow evolved.
They
is
do.
different. And it was funny if you watch the first couple episodes, the way the shadow was talking to Alexis wasn't working. And so Tam tweaked his approach. And by the end of it, you would see the shadow make a comment. And when he said Relin, or as Alexis would stop, he would derail her entire conversation as she got pissed at her shadow and started talking.
Yeah. Started talking to the bitch in her head.
Right. And it was great to watch.
It really was. I enjoyed the hell out of that.
I love the direction Tam went with it because it is so what Alexis is on a bad day. It really is. She is a fucking queen bitch on a bad day. And that's how he portrays it. And it's so fucking good.
And on a good day, she's low-key bitch.
And on a good day,
Alexis
she's
is-
low-key bitch. I mean, she's just a bitch, but
Well, and it would make sense.
She has a soft spot, but she was a career FBI agent that got promoted to an assistant director in a male-dominated field.
And World of Darkness, no less.
And World of Darkness, no
Yeah.
less. So she would have to be hard as fucking nails.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so Astral's question, which experiences were the most intense for each of you as players in character?
Who do we
We'll
want to
start with
abuse
Tark.
first? Tark?
The scenes that Shanky wove, interacting with my family, with my wife Esmeralda, those were really intense. And
Yeah, those were, even as me as storyteller, those were pretty powerful. And I'm going to comment on those scenes now. Those, even as storyteller, were sometimes very difficult for me to run because I'm in character as these individuals in their family. And when the players, I can hear their voice crack, it has an effect on me. So, and for Lance, who I've known quite a while, for those who don't know him, Urian is very even-tempered. He's very controlled a lot of times. Hearing his voice crack was a new thing to hear on stream. And that was hard on me as storyteller. And that's actually behind the scenes tip. That's why we do these. The reason his scene switched when it did was because I needed to change scenes for my own sake, because I was pushing the edge of what I was comfortable with at the time. And I needed to change the scene so that I wouldn't have to X card and stop the recordings.
Okay,
Very
so
intense.
Evie.
There were two that really stood out for different reasons. The first, obviously, being meeting the wife of my character, and subsequently scaring the fucking shit out of them. That was really hard in character and out of character, obviously. The other one was when I was talking to Mort, and he was talking about all the ways I would be sold into slavery. That was really intense because my character is made for talking and I couldn't out-talk him. So that was really quite freaking scary. Oh my God. So I'm glad the group got there when they did.
The circle. They call a circle
The
of
circle.
wraiths. I don't know why. It's just a circle.
Dan.
Tam, you said. I heard. I said I was Tam at the start, so I got jumpy.
You want
Go ahead,
Tam to go before you?
Go ahead, real Tam.
But I don't want to.
Fine, I'll go. Jesus. Go for it, Dan.
I was just going to say, really for me, it was more the other characters and hitting their emotion, because you're sitting here watching this and you get engrossed in what's happening to everybody else. When it's happening to you, it's easy enough to kind of let it go over a little bit. When you're sitting here watching this with other people, you know, Noah singing Danny Boy to his corpse. I mean, that was just like, it was a stunning stopping moment. And by the way, since the shadow is a reflection of the psyche, you have to sing, Alexis. I just wanted to let you know that.
No.
I have thrown down the gauntlet.
I know, right? Now it's like, fuck. Okay. Okay. So who wants to go next? Oh, fine. I'll go. Let y'all get your courage up. But yeah, basically it was very intense watching some of the other players' emotional scenes. The scene with Lance and his wife really hit hard. Isaac secluding himself as he did in the morgue drawer, that was hard to see, because that shows a level of despair that really hits home. The scene with Noah singing to his wife and his corpse, basically. And, because even in that moment, his shadow was quiet for a reason. If the shadow is a darker reflection of you, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are all bad. That's the truth. So basically, in that moment, I kept his shadow quiet to let him have that moment. But, and even, scenes with Ravenna when she had with her people, I mean, it was really intense. But I will say that the hardest scene for me and the most cathartic scene for me was playing as Alexis when her son was identifying her body. I legit bawled during that scene. And it wasn't just Alexis bawling in that scene. It was Relyn doing it too. I've had a lot of issues with grief recently from losses, and that was very freaking cathartic and very emotional.
And that is honestly one of the cool things about Wraith is it is very emotional. It's very difficult at times, but it also gets you that release that sometimes you don't get otherwise, because it's dealing with the one subject that everyone has to face eventually, which is death.
Mm-hmm.
So Margot or Noah?
See, you did it too.
I know. I'm bad at the names though, so it's okay.
Bingo. I think for me, correct me if I'm wrong, I had I was the character that had a lot of the first things happen. Like, I believe I was the first one to run into a loved one, and that scene was tough. I was the first one to have a harrowing happen to them. I didn't have buffers, or I didn't get to see how other people's were able to react to some of these moments. So I just, I went in, seated in my pants, and just let whatever felt right happen. And then, you all mentioned like just building up the courage to do the Danny Boy scene was certainly intense. But I think that was more on a player side than on like a character side that was intense. Whereas the harrowing and the first scene with Noah's wife was more intense on a character level.
Yeah, you didn't know that was coming, that she was going to be at the scene of the train crash in her role as a news reporter, where her company forced her to be there to do a news story on a train crash her husband was killed in. Now, as a storyteller, I understand it's fucked up, but this is World of Darkness.
Yeah.
These are the kind of things they would do. It's about ratings. They don't care about feelings because it's World of Darkness. They would 100% send the loved one to the scene of the accident just because.
Yeah.
So now we're left with Margot.
There were a couple of scenes that were really hard. One was one of the ones that I last did. It was with the car. As a player, I was like, yeah, this is going to be great. This is going to be fun. And the moment I turned the switch from being just a player to my character, I immediately regret this decision. I don't want this to happen. And it was a whole emotional issue that came throughout that episode. The other one was dealing with Nat and Seamus. Specifically Seamus, because Nat was making me cry and I have that emotional, but Seamus flipped that switch from being sad to rage instantaneously. And I may have mentioned it in the chat, but it was super cathartic because I was in an emotionally abusive relationship for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't tell Shanky that at all.
And you didn't tell me much at all about your husband's personality. I read your bio and what you wrote for your backstory, and based on the way I'd seen you playing your character and the parts you'd put about Natalie and yourself and him, I picked up on, well, that would make, he's going to be one of those overly cold. It's about him. All that matters is how everything impacts him. And yeah, I didn't know how close I was getting to her past on that. And it was an amazing scene, to be honest.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
It was so good.
so cathartic because there's no way I'm going to actually get any real closure from that event. So the closest I can get is in game. So
Now-
I thank you so much for that.
Yeah. One thing I want to interject just a little bit from my character perspective is it was actually very challenging for me because Relin as a person is a serial nurturer, very empathetic, very compassionate. You know, I feel all the feels for people when they're feeling all the feels. And I was playing a character that legit, when I started her on her character sheet, she had 0 dots in empathy. So seeing these scenes, like Noah being the first to see his wife or him coming back from a harrowing shaken to his core, I had to play a character that gave no fucks about it. That was hard. That was hard. And, you know, or if she did give empathy, it was fake. And you could tell it was fake. That she was just giving you platitudes. You know, and that I had to be very cognizant of the fact I am playing a character that is very different from me, and I have to act cold. And so basically I did that. And then I ended up, as we moved through our sessions, I think it was about session 8 or so, I ended up having the experience to put 2 dots of empathy on her sheet. And I did. And I'd had the role play reason that she had seeing her son again brought that back. That she had sacrificed that after her kids had grown, basically in her career, and seeing her son again made her remember what was important.
It broke you to realize what you had lost and given up. I mean,
Right.
it fit so well.
Yeah. And so basically from that point forward, she is going to have a bit more warmth and a bit more empathy, but she's never going to be the warmest, kindest, sweetest person in the world. So.
I'm sure your shadow will have nothing to say about that.
Oh, I'm sure not.
And I've already said, like, Tark's scene got to me as storyteller. I am one of those where I don't prep before a game in terms of I don't have music I listen to. I don't need to get in the headspace of my characters because, frankly, as storyteller, there's too many characters to be in the headspace anyway. You're constantly switching. But I am very good at, when I'm running a scene, I am in the headspace of a character. So you will see I get very emotional when I was doing Noah's first meeting with his wife, or when Isaac was there and he saw his fiance, girlfriend. I don't think we ever said for sure whether she was fiance, but I assume, considering their closeness.
Or are they common law at this point?
Right. Or the scene with Natalie being told she couldn't come in to see the body because she wasn't a family member. Mm-hmm. Or Alexis with her son. Aurora seeing Shauna for the first time after death. And these kind of scenes get me. One of the hardest for me to do as a scene was the very first time they met the voice. Because of the nature of the voice, there was potential for some violence from Tark's wife towards her teenage children. And that is a fine line to touch, especially given everyone in this game had to do a consent form and had to fill out as part of their application to be in this game a listing of what areas are go or no go and where the lines are drawn. And I had to walk a line there that was very fine and very had to thread a needle on what the scene could progress to. So that was hard from a technical point for me to do, to try to aim that in the right spot. So if there's any other questions people have, go for it. Ask them.
I wanted to just say thank you, though, to Mongoose Viper and Imagination Ascendant for the compliment. I have actually not been playing role-play games for very long. I started in February of 2019 with Vampire the Masquerade V5, first tabletop role-play game ever. And I really appreciate that compliment about playing a character so off-type from yourself being a sign of a good player. Thank you so much.
Danny had a question about, we talked about the intensity. He wondered about balancing it. Does the storyteller have to intentionally build in respites in the narrative to keep it from sinking too far? Yes, actually, I'm very cognizant of there's a flow you have to do. You can't keep the tension up here and the heartstrings up here the whole time, because the players and the viewers, this is a stream, be aware, it's not just the players and the viewers will go numb. It loses its effect. So you have to have an ebb and flow to it, where we would have episodes that don't have a lot of heartbreaking in it and pulling at the heartstrings. And then I can ratchet that right back up for an episode or a scene or part of a scene. And then I can ease off a little, because otherwise you do run into the problem where nobody will care anymore. It's happening too often.
And I have to give a shout out to Dan, who plays Noah, because oh my God, his timing is impeccable on basically alleviating tension or heartbreak in a game. He has done it multiple times during the first season, and I freaking love it every time, because that timing is so perfect. I mean, chef's kiss.
Yeah, and he does it in a way that doesn't.
It doesn't break the flow at all.
I'm not trying to be jokey.
Right.
It's
and you come across that way. It's done perfectly. It's
Right.
just enough levity to bring up to relax the scene just a little bit, so that we can all take a breath and keep going.
right, and you don't do it every time there's a tense scene.
Right,
You do
no.
it. I've got to say, you do it without turning the game campy or into a joke, because Wraith. I run a serious Wraith game. I don't want it campy.
To be fair, I think the one scene that stands out is me going through the wall when Margot's in the hospital. Like,
Oh, yeah.
we are ghosts. Like, we're gonna have weird times, where I'm just, rather than walking through the wall, it makes more sense that I'm gonna stick my head out the wall rather than go through the door. We're still learning our powers, and that's Noah's big thing. It's I have no idea what the hell we can do. Yes, we have our character list, but in game, it's been 2 days. And We're
Right.
showing all this crazy stuff that we can do. Weird things are going to happen that aren't necessarily sad or angry or heartbreaking. We're going to fuck up, and it's going to be funny.
Right.
Even though that's not the intention.
It's only been 2 days in game time for season 1. Now, season 2, there will be less sheer heartbreaking scenes, because you've got to remember, season 1, these are all newly dead people. They're just coming to grips with the fact they're dead. So we're going to have less often heartbreaking scenes, but when they come, they're going to be rough. But we're also going to have more time pass. Because this one, because of the nature of what they're looking for, we couldn't right away go straight to,
It's
a
been
couple days
days.
have passed.
Yeah.
Well, with Richmond, which is season 2, which is hierarchy territory, there will be gaps of time between episodes where time passes. Because if we just do 1 day per episode, or 1 day every 3 episodes, we're never going to get the story to where it is. And as I learned with DC, the power level of these wraiths in a week's game time, they're going to be more powerful than ghosts that have been ghosts for 30, 40 years. And
Right.
you gotta balance the two.
I want to touch on that little bit part, because I think whereas Noah's not trying to be jokey, I am trying to be a little jokey with the Shadow. It's
Oh yeah.
it's a jokey character, because I'm playing with a fantasy author. I'm the dark shadow of a fantasy author here.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. Bye.
And this is one of the things. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, please. I'm talking a lot.
This is one of the things about running a dark game, is you can't just keep it dark.
Right.
You do, and people will break and be funny, because what do we do as people when things get really tense and really tough?
Develop
Eventually,
bad
we're gonna-
coping
Gotta
mechanisms.
Yeah, you're gonna cope,
Hammer, yeah.
and
No, but
you're
we
either
do.
gonna
We make
you're either
light
gonna
of
crack a joke,
situations.
or you're gonna get drunk and crack a joke.
Right. Right.
It's gonna happen.
Sometimes you gotta rip off a woman's shirt to look at her chest to get
Get
your
some willpower back.
For those that don't know the
those who
reference,
don't
that
know
is
the
a Haunted
reference.
Chronicle.
Yeah, that was in Haunted Chronicles.
That's the Tuesday night stream at 8 p.m.
That's a
Haunted
Chronicles
Chronicle.
of Darkness stream.
Chronicles of Darkness, which
Yeah.
is a spin-off technically of the World of Darkness line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's a good one too.
I think we will get some levity for lack of a better word, now that we have some shadows that can talk to each other, I think those are, while they're not going to be like yuck, 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 like us just talking about how we're going to mess with the psyches is going to lead to some humor.
Absolutely.
Again, we're not there to
Absolutely.
be making jokes, but it's like, it's going to be funny. It's like, okay, these guys are idiots. Like, how are we going to
You're
fuck with them?
watching players talk about fucking over the other player in the terms of you're the shadow. So you're talking in terms of how to screw over the other character, screw over the characters all together. And that is one of the things that made Wraith unique, is this shadow mechanic where every player at the table plays a character, but they're playing a shadow whose goal is to gaslight, undermine, low-key bitch, or otherwise sabotage the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
But not in a way that, the beauty is it's not in a way that means instant death. They want that slow sabotage that just slowly drags them down. And it's a great mechanic, but yeah, there'll be levity in that.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen another. I do have a question.
Does
that I
y'all
called
have
back.
any other questions? If you want to ask specific questions about characters. Okay, Danny has a question.
Great.
What are you looking forward to most in season 2? Be it delving deeper into Wraith lore, resolving a loose plot thread, haunting a human Whoopi Goldberg style. I see what you
Hey,
did there, Danny. Jesus
I did
Christ.
reference some Whoopi in the last session, so I'm right there with you. Get in danger,
Jesus
girl.
Christ.
Get some sexual pottery scenes.
I'm
up
waiting
in
for
here.
my fiance to take up pottery.
Danny's thinking that Alexis and Buchanan are gonna. No, Alexis has plans for Buchanan, but and it ain't that. But so, what are you guys looking forward to in season 2?
I guess
I'm
I'll
looking
start.
forward-
Oh,
Okay, go for it, Amy.
No, sorry. Go.
okay. I'm really looking forward to seeing Richmond. I'm looking forward to seeing it as a Wraith and seeing this society that's been built up in the what do you call, not the Skinlands, the other one,
Shadowlands.
Shadowlands. That's
Yeah.
the one. So that'll
Yeah,
be
because it's an Acropolis. So
yeah,
Mhm.
that'll be really cool. Meeting up with the something of faith.
Anacron.
Anacron, yep.
Anacreon of Fate. Yep.
Yeah.
Sabrina, I believe her name was.
Sabrina.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's a low-key Sabrina the Witch thing or look, you never know. Okay.
No, that was called Shanky. For those that haven't asked these questions, I improv fuck tons of an episode, and that was me improving a name for
Out
who's
of
the
his
Anacreon
ass.
of Fate, because I didn't have that written down, and now it's become lore.
And now it's Lord.
Now it is lore. The Anacreon of Richmond is in fact Sabrina.
Yeah.
So that'll be a lot of fun. So that's what I'm looking forward to most, and obviously exploring the various plot threads that we all have open through our fetters and our families and everything else.
For me, I'm going to take a darker end. I'm excited to see someone else or someone's else's plural have a harrowing. I'm tired of being the only person who's going through a harrowing.
You know, after your harrowing, this group
Was real fucking careful.
They don't listen.
real fucking careful.
No, none of them listen to me. I'm like, this shit
Oh,
sucks.
we're not going to listen to you, but
What are you
we don't want to go
complaining?
through it ourselves. No.
The harrowings, honestly, by the way the rules are, they're not something that seems to come that often. But with what is going on with the overall story plot I'm laying, there's going to be fetters and passions and a lot of fucking danger. Fetters in particular for season 2. So there will be a lot more chances for harrowing problems because I've got Pentex, Project Orpheus, who I've heard are motherfuckers.
Not
Inside joke there, or outside joke for the viewers.
Motherfucker.
Yep.
No, we have to tell the joke for those who are new to the stream. Okay, when Shanky first brought in Project Orpheus, basically bringing in that splat as something in our game, basically he misnomered it as Project Oedipus. and we caught it after the fact, but we weren't going to correct him in the middle of recording our stream. So basically, the very next session, when it came up, oh, isn't it Project Oedipus? And I'm like, no, that's a motherfucker.
Yeah,
you have no idea how mad I am that I missed that joke.
I know. You're the punster of the group. But yes, for Judge Wolf, I do, when I run any World of Darkness game, I tend to include all the parts of World of Darkness in my world. The one thing you really won't see very much of, honestly, is Changeling. You'll see once in a while a Fae might be watching something, but that's about as far as it goes. Mages I tend to keep to the outside because mages break every other World of Darkness product out there. But I use the lore as a whole. So I use the werewolf Pentex because if you read, it's all in the world. Mm-hmm. And I weave them all into a story because honestly, it's what makes it good, the World of Darkness, those links between them all. And
you were going to say something, Lance? About what you're looking forward to?
Oh, I'm looking forward to exploring more of what Wraith Society is. You know, what that we've just been dropped into. We really have no idea what all this is, and I just want to see how it works.
2 days.
Yeah.
Well, and remember, that's part of the design of the stream. We went into it. Nobody at this table had played it. I had never run Wraith. So we went into it with the idea of you just die. The players get introduced to the lore as we play. And the viewers, Astral is asked to sing a song. We'll get to that in a minute. And the viewers get to learn the world as we go. So season 1 was about what it means to be dead. Season 2 is going to focus on Richmond, which is the hierarchy. So Lance, you'll be learning about the hierarchy at the same time as the players. Mm-hmm. So... or at the same time as the viewers. So for those that don't know Wraith as a system, by watching the stream, you're learning the world and the lore and the system at the same time, which is great for everybody involved. It also means my players didn't have to read the book. Some of them did, some did not. And that makes it even better because you get that mix at the table. And Astral wants someone to sing. But
well, hang on. We haven't finished going around.
Question.
Yeah. I really am looking forward to seeing what happens to our wraiths in Richmond because with it being hierarchy, they're gonna want to make us do shit. And that's I'm really interested to see what happens with all of us. And I know Shanky's very good about setting things up in his games that allows, even if we split apart as a group, we have to come back together because all of us have bits and pieces of information that we have to come together to get the whole picture. So he even started doing that here in season 1. I mean, you know, just 2 days of actual in-game time for the 10 sessions we had. And we ended up having to come back together to get all the pieces to solve why the train crashed. You know, so basically he does that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's very possible that when we get set up in this hierarchy city and we get presented to the Anacreons of all the different, you know, Death Lords that are represented. Of the legions, basically, in Richmond, that we're going to be tasked to do different things. And we may be divided a bit because we're tasked to do different things. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out.
So who still has to answer that
those two
one?
up there.
Those two up there?
Yep. These two up here. I guess I can go first this time. There's a couple of things. One is haunting the fuck out of my husband. I am going to fucking screw with him so hard until Margot gets what she wants done. It's gonna happen. And obviously so for those that haven't watched so far, it seems like Margot and a couple of other people are were there at the wrong place in the wrong time and just ended up dead. Margot was changing her life completely around. She was on that train set with a full new purpose and was going to live a life that she wanted. There's a lot of anger, a lot of rage that's gonna come out at the people that are responsible. And it's just the way she is, by the way. I've got your dictum mortem right here.
Don't get caught.
Too late.
Don't get caught again. The
Yeah,
forge is-
I mean, I have a whole arcana I haven't had a chance to use yet.
I'll wait until Isaac's done his, and then
Let's
I'll
go,
comment something
Isaac.
on that part. Go ahead, Isaac.
Gee, what was the question again? No, I'm just joking. Honestly, I kind of like some of the gates that Dave has opened into the backstory of Isaac, so I'm looking forward to delving into that a little bit, especially because of how it's going to impact and interact with some of the other characters who are going to have some issues with his past. So I think that'll be interesting, especially since he's trying to integrate a little bit and be supportive, and his nature is to kind of fake be supportive. So
He was the bartender.
Mm-hmm.
And on the dictum mortem thing, or morium, just so mortem, I always pronounce it wrong. On that part, as storyteller, I don't pull punches. If you do something that is going to get you sent to the forges, too bad, so sad. Your character is going to get sent to the forges, and you've become a fucking coin or brick or whatever they're making that week, and that's sad. And the player will have to have a discussion about whether they get to play somebody new or we bring in a new person, because the one thing I've made very clear in all my games, actions have consequences, and the dice roll where they may. I do not fudge dice. I do not change dice. As we proved when I botched a negotiation roll posed against Alexis, and it fucked up my entire plans for that episode. But that's what the dice did, and that's how it is, and that's how I run it. So there is a lot of people talk about, well, you can change the dice for story. I do not do that. So if you fuck up bad enough, there's a good chance you'll end up in.
But
The
botches
forge.
make the best story.
They do.
They
They really do.
They really do.
And Judge Wolf GM says, "Man, do players ever read the book?" Some players do, some don't. I personally did not read more than I needed to of the book just to create my character. I wanted to go in blind on purpose. I typically will read core books for games. I did it for Vampire. I've done it for other games, but for Wraith, I intentionally wanted my character to come off as she didn't know shit about this, and she's having to learn it as she goes. And I figured the best way to do that was to not know too much. So
Yeah.
Who's singing?
Now-
who's singing?
There is who wants to sing first? It's player's choice. It's the table's choice who has to sing. Who feels like singing? I know we have a couple of people who like singing, and I know one of them sang Danny Boy.
I'm not doing it just because somebody told me I had to. Because I'm stubborn like that.
I mean, I've been known to sing, but I don't want to take the first singing because, I've sang on stream now. I think I've done 5 different songs. Not tonight, but I'm on like 5.
Welcome to the stream, Tice. It's crazy up in here in McStabber Studios.
Yep. It's a far cry different from when we're playing the game.
Yeah.
And I love that while we were playing Wraith, everyone was in character until the episode ended. And then you got to see the real people. And then when we do a cast Q&A, we're out of character. So you get to see that all the shit that went on, we're still friends. We still like each other.
Well,
Well,
Sam don't like any of us.
I'm tolerated. I know.
Do I have to do this? Are you all going to chicken out?
Nah, I'll do
yes,
it. I'll do it.
yes, I'm chickening.
Do it.
All right, Margot, you want it or you want
Oh
me to do
God,
it?
no! I don't want to go first.
So how's this work? Do we choose a song?
You just choose a
a
song
song
that you're comfortable
That
singing.
you sing it. You don't even have to. You sing as much as you feel like singing because,
Yep,
well,
you don't have to
first
do
of
the
all,
whole song.
you do an acapella, and if you go too crazy with it, I don't know. They might mute us on Twitch. I don't fucking know.
Okay.
That's fair.
I do have a list of public domain songs if you ever need it.
Oh no, I don't. Oh my God! Wait a minute. Tice the Betrayer brings up one that I will sing by the end of the night. Okay,
Oh, heck yeah. All right.
I can
let's
sing
see.
that song.
oh no.
I think this one is from Beauty and the Beast, the live action version that Disney did. It was actually one of the new songs that they added. I was the one who had it all. I was the master of my fate. I never needed anybody in my life. I learned the truth too late. I'll never shake away the pain. I close my eyes, but she's still there. I let her steal into my melancholy heart. It's more than I can bear. Now I know she'll never leave me, even as she runs away. She will still torment me, call me her. Oof, that's enough. Sorry. I need to prep.
That's legit why I'm not singing, because I have to do my scales. But
Oh my gosh.
I'm holding up my rock and roll lighter for
there
you.
you go.
That's not a rock and roll lighter. That's a burn the fucking house down crack pipe lighter.
Arrow flame?
All right, so we delivered on the singing. So yay.
Yep.
All right, any more questions? Or is there any questions that the cast has?
Yeah, I was about to say,
Yeah,
Cass got
putting
some?
Evie on the spot again.
All right, put me on the spot, boss. What's up?
Having a lovely shadow who's your best friend and would never do anything to hurt you. How does it feel having a shadow that is very different than a lot of the other shadows, I would say, as far as their approach and their, as far as their approach.
For Aurora, it's perplexing and confusing, and it just goes to kind of solidify the thoughts that she's been having towards death, and the thoughts reinforced by the shadow. Her shadow, to her, seems friendly, and everyone else is complaining about how harsh or terrible their shadows are, and hers just doesn't. So she's thinking maybe she's got something like prudence. She doesn't know. Maybe she's not dead. Maybe there's like some sort of crossed wires or mix up. She's struggling with that because, of course, being a fantasy writer means having a very active imagination, and it would be something crazy like that, she thinks. So yes, she's definitely struggling with the dichotomy. We'll see how that goes in season 2. It's getting hard. Yeah, one thing that she needs to do is she needs to find her body. If she sees herself dead, it would help a lot, but I doubt that's going to happen easily. So
You don't need to do that.
Teaser.
You're dead.
Just
You're
so you
alive.
know, your body won't be found.
Oh shit.
Um,
Oh shit.
they arranged that. Shauna will be given an urn of ashes.
Oh fuck. All right, so Tice asked, what's one of your fave spotlights of one of your fellow teammates that you will always remember?
I'm going to call out our storyteller, or Thomas, because
Yes.
there were some moments as Thomas. One that I'm thinking of specifically was the wounds when he was seen with his shirt off.
And it's funny because Wraiths, the clothes they wear aren't really there. They're part of the visualization of their how they see themselves. But when you're bringing up that subject from the lore side, the books say Wraiths can have sex. Well, if your clothes are on you based on how you see yourself, how would that happen? They've got to have a way to remove them. So in that case, he had removed them because of the injuries, and it should show you something else. Wraiths heal wounds very easily, and he was not. His pathos, he didn't have much, which means the passions weren't there for him at the time anymore either. That was, yeah.
Thomas was a beautiful character. He really was. I mean, my character, Alexis, didn't trust him as far as she could toss him, and she didn't have that power to toss anybody. So, but I will say, as a player, having Thomas as a guide, it was equally frustrating, but as an actual fully realized character, he was a brilliant fucking character. Truly.
Agreed. Yeah, Aurora was definitely once she saw like the wounds, she felt really, really bad about doubting him as a person. And she could see that there was kind of an altruism to him, and that sucks because now he's a fucking specter. So I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of him.
He was an okay guy for a tank engine.
All right, Margot, you have any comments on that?
Oh, there's so many, but Thomas, oh my goodness. Margot was so upset at Thomas telling her not to do anything. It's like
everything was no.
Yeah, everything was no. Tell me something I can do for once. But at the same time, finding out that, he saved 300 some odd people by the train going off beforehand.
And what's funny is we go back to the players didn't really read the book beforehand. So when they picked their arcani, they didn't know a lot of the arcani they were picking
was
are banned arcani. Ones that the hierarchy have deemed are not to be used ever.
Mm-hmm.
And they picked these.
We don't know shit.
We don't know shit. Thank God we're claimed by fate.
We are a collective Jon Snow. We know nothing.
Well, I'm sorry. I did not pick my arcana. It's just what came to me when I died. I didn't have any choice in the matter. So.
Yeah. Just luck of the draw.
So who else has a big scene like that? A spotlight of another player's character they won't forget.
Oh,
I think for me, something that'll stand out was Isaac crawling into the morgue drawer. I don't know if it was a big, like, bombastic, like, RP moment, but, like, again, it was very subtle and nuanced, and it led to some other things down the line that whether they have waves across the whole game, I don't know, but at least as far as a character moment, it was very strong. And
it showed the depths to which his death affected him. That he literally crawled into the morgue drawer with his own body and laid there where his body was, as if trying to put his soul back in the shell. And it was very subtle, but it gave you a powerful image of his mental state at the time.
His shadow had just brought so much stuff. And that's one of those things where anybody at the table will probably all start nodding. You get so into your character, and all of a sudden, it's not like I'm sitting here, hey, I'm going to climb into the drawer. It was just, holy crap, he's got to get away from all this.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Tark had an answer.
Oh, I was going to say, being brand new characters playing, to Wraith, the scene with Noah, like when his wife's breaking down and saying that she wished she could have told him things, and he's standing there saying, "You just did."
That hit me really hard.
Yeah, that one hit me hard too.
Yeah, that one was.
That was rough.
Yeah, that got me as a storyteller.
That was hard to play Alexis with no fucking empathy during that, okay?
And I will also say the harrowing, seeing some of you people as gangsters. Hard especially.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm going to
whoa.
speak up, because I will say I was Noah's shadow, and it was my job outside of the game to coordinate this harrowing and basically get with all the other players except Dan. Well, sorry, mirrored. Dan, and basically, coordinate a scene that we could use to basically test him to see if he would do what the shadow wanted him to do or not. And so basically I had to coordinate all this stuff, and I did get my husband, the storyteller, to help a little bit, because I'm brand new to this shit and I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
I'm brand new too.
Yeah, but he's got a more devious mind than I do at times. And so So I do go to him for advice when I have to do this kind of stuff. But basically, and we came up with this plan for the harrowing for basically a mugging scene. And it was amazing. All of y'all just blew me the fuck away. You made my job as his shadow in that scene so fucking easy.
And the reason Isaac or Tam brought up Tark is because, again, I've said earlier, Lance is even-tempered. He is not one that you see a lot of bursts of emotion normally, but when he's in this harrowing, you can hear the anger and the aggression suddenly in his voice where he's demanding,
that was just a
give me
predator.
your fucking money. And it's just, he starts off so calm and even about, you got a cigarette? And then you hear an edge of malice in his voice. And then he just turned that shit up to 11. And it was like, holy hell, where'd this come from?
Yeah. I jumped when he was like, now. And I'm like, whoa.
And because we pre-record, when I run a stream, I pre-record most of them so that I can do audio work. Of course, not this one. So I can do audio cleanup and everything. And with Wraith, I feel it's vitally important to pre-record Wraith so that if at any point it gets too much for the players, we can stop recording to deal with the emotional bleed over. I had to do some audio edit work because when Tark started getting angry, he was blowing the limiters up, and I had to dial his levels back because he was blowing the damn clipping off on the limiters. So it was great.
I still regret what I said as that gangster. I heard when we were watching it, I was like,
damn.
Should I wash my mouth out with soap? That's what it felt like.
I have to basically give mine to the entire team during that because it was freaking amazing. It really was.
I survived.
And we were all happy the den came out of it okay.
Noah, on the other hand, did not. Dan came out fine. I'm pasting in the
I know.
Zoom chat
I already
questions.
have it paused.
Okay.
I already have it paused.
Evie, I don't
Okay,
think
so
that-
we do have
Evie still
we
needs
got to
to do
get all
hers.
the answers first. Yeah. I have the questions paused, so we'll get to them all.
God, I don't know. I really enjoyed everyone's characters like a lot. I really, really enjoyed Noah's stuff. I really enjoyed Isaac, Alexis, Tark, all of them. I liked fucking with Tark, obviously, as a shadow, but I think like it's so hard to choose. I really like Alexis's stuff with Buchanan. I really like that. It's some of my favorite stuff because it feels like it was so obvious and yet she still missed it.
Yeah.
Which is really, really very in character because of the way that she had just shoved that part of herself away and was on this vengeful tirade against her ex-husband.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I really, really like that the best.
Well, thank you. Mwah.
And if she'd showed more emotions, maybe she could have saved her marriage.
Get your mask up.
All right, cunt.
This bitch.
All right. So
Wait a minute, real quick. For the viewers that are new to this stream, someone show them what it means when a shadow speaks, because when you're doing this as a stream, you need to know when the shadow's speaking.
this is when the shadow's speaking.
When the shadow comes out, these masks go up to symbolize it's the shadow speaking and not the players. Tark's lost,
I
or
didn't take my
Tam's
mask
lost his
out
for now.
tonight.
He
I
didn't take his
my
mask out.
That's fine. So we actually had a way so you would know when the player was speaking as
Yep.
opposed to the shadow.
Because basically, when I was in costume as Alexis, I would, just look like myself as Alexis. But then when I'm speaking as Noah's shadow, put up the mask, and I am no longer Alexis. I am the shadow version of Noah.
Yeah, and the masks made it great because the impersonal nature of it really highlighted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really, really like. No joke, I don't think this game could have been done any other way. That
Yeah.
was such a amazingly smart idea.
And
It
I
worked
was asked on one of the media groups, are you going to turn your Wraith stream into a podcast?
Nope.
And my first response was, I don't see how we could do a podcast because without that mask coming up to show the shadow, there's no way to
To
separate
denote when it's happening.
right when it's happening. And it would lose too much to be worth going in a podcast for.
You would really have to change up your voice, and I don't know how comfortable people would be with that without it sounding campy or
Right.
goofy.
Exactly.
Right. Okay, so Tice asked a question: do all of our characters look like their true selves now that now that we all know about this, the self-projection of or self-realization that we project as wraiths?
Not Aurora.
Not anymore.
She's all armored up now.
For those who haven't seen it, Aurora has moliate, and she turned her body into a suit of armor because she didn't want to be hurt anymore.
Mm-hmm. I will say that initially Alexis was, but Alexis started off very wrapped up in the past. And now, probably going into season 2, Alexis will likely look a bit different because she's starting to realize that the here and now is what's important. Anybody else? Y'all think your characters look like their true selves?
Margot, the big deal with Margot's outfit is, yes, she was a professional dominatrix. At home, she was this, this meek housewife kind of individual. But the moment she stepped into her studio and zipped up those leather stilettos, it was a whole different person. It was personal armor. The only thing that doesn't count really for Margot's outfit that she would have worn to be strong is this thing, the collar. And if y'all notice, it has a heart carabiner on it, and that actually is her chained to her love. And that's why that's there.
Yep. Anyone else feel? I think I know Tark felt reflected his.
Yeah, he very much reflects what he thinks he used to look like. And he's got his ESD jacket from working in the lab because that's where he was most comfortable, working on his machineries and stuff like that. And he may change a little, only because the costume gets a little hot during the summertime. But otherwise, he's pretty much well represented as what he thinks he looks like.
For Aurora, I'm really glad you picked up on that, Shanky. It was a very literal, I need to armor myself against this. And I think that worked really well. Her appearance obviously reflects... Her appearance reflects that, of course, and her normal appearance does as well, for when she felt like a stronger person. And I'm not going to be bringing a suit of armor onto the set.
If I can wear chainmail as Sir Warren,
I'll tell you what.
You buy me, craft.
I also love
Raven
with your armor, though. You chose a Raven stylized, which the Raven is in a lot of times been associated with death and the afterlife and everything else, and it brings a good Poe kind of feeling to your character. And as a writer, it fits.
That is precisely what I was going for. So that's wonderful that got across.
Yeah, that's great.
The claws were a secondary thing, in the moment defensive, but probably not a permanent fixture. But yeah, no, if you want to grab me some plate mail, I'll wear it.
I hope you have good AC.
I do, thankfully.
No, but I have a 3D printer. You're in trouble now.
Can do it, I'll wear it. I'm just saying.
Print armor. That's a new one.
Yeah, Isaac and Noah are pretty well self-representing.
I'll let Noah go first.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much Noah looks like he would before he became emotionally abusive to himself and took to drink. I mean, just a younger version of himself, or more healthy looking version of himself. But as far as the outfit goes, it's probably something he would have worn.
I think as Isaac falls deeper into his past, assuming that Squishy Bear continues to dave him up with his past, he's probably going to become less of the professionally dressed bartender and fall back into his earlier days. I already had his tattoo reappear, so...
Yep, your gang tattoo still came back that very first episode.
Yep.
And that's one thing that wraiths over time because the way they look is their idealized self-image. If your self-image changes, your subconscious self-image changes, so with the way you look.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Judge Wolf did ask, I've been in and out, but did you have a feeling of existential horror during this game? Did you feel like you were playing a show, or did you start to latch on to your character a little and feel them?
I'll answer first as storyteller. As storyteller, I always think in terms of a show. I do get in character's head. I do get very emotional, but there's always that part of my brain that looks at it. This is a stream for the enjoyment of the viewers and for the enjoyment of the players. And there's that part of me that always thinks in terms of, is this good story for the show? And I admit that. And now the players can do theirs, because mine was easy.
I think for me, I can turn it on and off pretty well. I think it's more in the preparation. If there's something I know or I have an anticipation of something that's coming, I start kind of building that up again, like especially like the Danny Boy C. Like I had to psych myself up for that. But as far as like what's going on in the game, I feel like I can compartmentalize pretty well between being in Noah mode, and once the game ends, I can kind of separate it pretty easily.
You can tell by the way no one else is answering how they feel on the subject.
No, well, I was just giving an opportunity, so I'm not talking all the time. But I'll go ahead and go. I'm very method. I don't see it as being in a show. I work myself into the persona of a character. I spend days working myself into a persona of a character leading up to a game. Because I do tend to play off type from myself personally. So I have to basically switch mindsets, switch attitudes, switch perspectives, everything. So I will basically go through kind of like a ritual where I will start listening to certain playlists I've created on Spotify that help inspire the thoughts and feelings of my characters. And I'll do that for a few days. And then like the day of, I get into costume. I will, get the dress or whatever I'm wearing, do the hair, do the makeup. And basically as I'm putting this stuff on, layers of this stuff on, I'm becoming a different person. It's Relin checks out and the character takes over. I will say that with this game, because I'm relatively, of everyone here, I'm relatively new to tabletop RPGs. With this game, I was able to slip back into being Relin faster after playing than other games I've played in the past. Because when I first started playing, it was sometimes I needed downtime after a session to get back in the into the mindset of me and to kind of work that character out. But now I'm able to kind of switch it off once the game's done. So it's gotten better with practice kind of thing.
Now, Tam's going to have to step away in a few minutes. So let's
Not
let
Tam. Noah.
No, Tam
has to step away in a few minutes.
Tam does?
So we'll let Tam answer
I've got
his.
a prior thing, and I just got my, hey, you need to come do this. So
Yeah.
I want to say thank you to everybody at the table for letting me be a part of this. I love it. Thank you for the viewers for watching. Love you guys. Thank you for everybody who supported it. And all that.
Thank you,
Tam
Tam.
has to step away.
We love
So
playing with you.
he's going to step away and he won't be answering any other questions, but we will deal with it.
I guess I'll go next. For me, when I act professionally, so when I get to be on something like even if it's a show on Twitch or whatever, when I get to do that and just slip into the mindset of my character, it can pretty easily feel like I latch deep onto them and feel for them. And when it comes to the horror aspect of this, it wasn't really horror so much as it is just dread, suffering, and this sort of pall bleakness over the entire show, which even in its lighter moments still hangs there pretty hard. So, like I said, nothing was truly horrifying in the haunted house. You're going through boo, that kind of nonsense. But it was deeply affecting in terms of like being almost depressing because of the circumstances. So
it's a horrifying thought what these characters are trapped in. It's just fucking horrifying.
It is fucked up.
It's basically you get up and you're just like, man,
what's the new trauma today?
What's the new trauma? What shitty thing is going to happen today?
Yeah.
In the fucking Shadowlands, I'm dead. Why am I worrying about all this shit?
Yeah.
It's the world of darkness, not My Little Pony.
Right.
Yeah, that is very true.
No, it's rainbows and unicorns.
Not the game I run.
Okay. So
next.
Yep, next.
All right. I never really think of it as playing in a show. I go into character for playing dark. And I really get into it in the moment. But I'm able to slip out of it pretty easily afterwards. It doesn't hang on as it's something that affects me for days afterwards.
I've only seen one bit of scenes that affected you after the game, and it wasn't in Wraith. It was actually in the Vampire, and it only affected you for maybe an hour after the game. And that was the scene where you found out that your mother had been dead and your character didn't know it, and you thought she was alive. And that was the only one that seemed to affect you about an hour afterwards. That's the only time I've seen you carry after the game anything. And that was just particularly mean of me to do. And
Yeah,
I'm not apologizing.
It's okay.
We
It's
expect
cool.
it from you, darling.
That's right.
We know what we're signing on to when we volunteer to play your games.
Mean in my world of darkness, it's more likely than you think.
I guess I'll go next. I've been playing role-playing games for 15 years now, at least. Probably more than that, because I think I played 2nd edition when I was like 10. But that wasn't really a role-play game back in the day. But I do build up concepts, and I build up playlists, and I write stuff about my characters, and it helps me get into the headspace. And once I'm there on stream or table or whatever, I'm there. And there has only been a couple of times in my entire role play experience where I've had emotional bleed over to the point of days of going by where I had to process things. With this game, surprisingly, I pulled back pretty easy. I thought this game I was going to have a hard time, but it's a switch on, off. It's fine.
I really think that kind of speaks to the catharsis of playing this game. That you go through the emotions in character as the character you're portraying, and then once it's over, you've cleaned it out your system.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. Because I mean, I have felt some very strong emotions during this game, which is what Wraith is really built upon, is basically being able to portray your character feeling strong emotions, because that is how they get pathos. That's how they basically fuel their existence. So, I've been through that experience, but I have found that it's so cleansing by the time it's done that I'm just able to switch it off.
And having to interrupt with the shadow as well, having to crank that switch from person who is suffering to person who is causing the suffering,
who's inflicting,
certainly helps with being able to slide back out of that
the shadow is an
very deep
interesting comment
depression.
because the shadow is very interesting. You bring it up because the shadow mechanic, because of the nature of the shadow mechanic, normally when you're doing a stream, you have to give time for everyone to do a scene, to talk, to do their thing. But when the shadow mask comes up, the shadow needs to be able to speak immediately. So you have to stop what you're doing mid-scene, which is difficult for players a lot of times. Stop mid-conversation, stop mid-thought, so that the shadow can speak, because this shadow's in your head. It doesn't care if you're talking. it's going to say what it wants to say.
Mm-hmm.
But while we could have the players keep talking and the shadow speak, then the viewers wouldn't
Hear it.
hear it. So you have to make those allowances when you bring up the shadow is a very interesting mechanic overall to the flow of the game.
I almost see it as a palate cleanse as a
It kind
player.
of is. Mm-hmm.
You get to say all the things you wished you could say at a table, but you know is breaking character. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, look at Noah's. Noah is naturally, Dan, you're snarky at times. That's your natural personality. And normally you're not playing a character that gets to do it. But as the shadow, you can lay into it.
Mm-hmm.
You even throw shade at your storyteller as shadow, damn it.
I know, right?
I mean, honestly,
2007.
one of my favorite moments as Aurora's shadow wasn't even like gaslighting. It's when she was captured and she's like, we need to get out of here. This isn't like, not like,
Yeah. The shadow was like, no,
Shadow's
we
like,
don't need this shit.
no, this is not good. Well, what can we do to get out of here?
We don't need you to be a brick or a dog or whatever.
Yeah.
Right, because how do you convince her she's alive if she gets turned into a slave and can't escape and then gets beat into a coin or something? I mean,
It's like, okay, let's put this in the maybe pile for the book.
I do like that because the way Aurora works, she was trying to survive. That's why she didn't panic. She was trying to sweet talk literally everybody she came across. The shadow was actually panicking more than her for one. And that was really, really funny. I love that.
Tice, the way you said the shadow, do you understand what we're talking about when we talk about the shadow? That's I'm not sure if Tice understands the shadow concept because
Of Wraith the Oblivion.
in Wraith the Oblivion, what the shadow means.
Yeah, basically all of us as players, we play two characters. We play a Psyche, which is our main character, and then we also play a shadow of a different player's character.
And the shadow is when you're alive, everyone has that voice in the back of their head. Okay,
That
you're making a
negative
joke,
voice.
but I will explain it anyway because there's new people here.
Yeah,
I'm
there
sure.
might be some new people here.
When you're alive, you have a voice in the back of your head. It's always that little hidden voice that everyone deals with that undercuts them, questions them, second guesses what they're doing, all that good stuff. When you die, that voice becomes manifest. It becomes not an entity to itself because it's still part of you, but it has access to all your memories, everything about you, and its voice is no longer in the back of your head. It's thundering in your ears, and it can infect the world around you and do things. So each player here has to be the shadow of somebody else who is that dark side of their own personality. For Aurora, I would say her shadow is that part of her personality as a writer that was the escapism, that was the
Lives in denial.
in denial of what reality is, and was absorbed in the books and in the writing. And her shadow has manifested as one that tries to convince her she's still alive because to admit reality is to admit,
All the horrible things about it.
yeah. And these are the, Tarks is the abuser because Tark has questioned the things he's done about himself and beat himself up over what he's done for so long. His shadow has become the manifestation of beating himself up for his choices. It's a great mechanic, but it's also what makes Wraith so hard to play.
It is. And I will say, Dan, you brought up, some of the favorite aspects of playing a shadow with Aurora. I will say one of the best moments I had playing your shadow was actually the last episode. That moment where I offered you help to re-roll your danger check. And you're like, why are you offering to help? Why are you being helpful? That paranoia that you showed. And I'm like, I don't want to get caught either.
Because the shadow...
At that point, it was cost benefit.
Yeah, I know. But I loved that moment because basically it was like, the two minds coming to an agreement. It's like we both don't want to get caught. Let's work together on this.
And the fun thing about the shadow is you got to understand the shadow wants the psyche to eventually embrace oblivion, to embrace entropy, to be nothing. But they don't want it right away because to the shadow has been trapped powerless your entire life.
Got to flex those muscles.
So once it gets a chance to do things, it wants the psyche to suffer. It wants to tear everything that the psyche holds dear apart. and do it slowly over time. So you don't want a fast burn. You don't want to flare out. You want to just constantly erode until the psyche's ready for oblivion, because you have undercut them so bad, made them question so much that they're tired of the fight. That's what the Shadow's goal is. Are any Shadows winning? Wow. I can't reveal that because the players, they are not allowed to know how strong their Shadow has become. That is hidden from the players.
Now, I will say
I'm assuming mine's winning because, that's just how I'm going to act it out. But
My Shadow's a good gal. She's working with me, so.
Best friends.
BFFs.
best friends.
Literally forever.
Literally.
Scary.
Yeah.
Are the Shadows winning from the point of the players? So basically, we actually cannot reveal that because we play the psyches that these Shadows interact with. So really, but I will say that none of us are, as Shadows, are strong enough yet to really cause significant damage.
There are enough Shadows here that can do what's called catharsis. Though.
Right.
There are several Shadows at the table that have enough angst, which is Wraiths. Their psyche gets pathos, which is from emotion. Wraiths, the Shadows also get power from emotion called angst, which is the negative, emotions, basically. Some of these Shadows have enough power to do what's called catharsis, which means the Shadow can take control of the body or the spirit and do things, but no one has done it yet.
And from a character perspective of whether or not Alexis feels like her Shadow is winning against her, no, but yes. It's kind of both, because Alexis is a very stubborn woman. She's going to basically fight to the end against her Shadow. That's just the nature that she is. But at the same time, her Shadow is getting smart and she knows it. And she's very paranoid now about anything that doesn't make sense being caused by her Shadow. And that makes her second guess a lot of stuff already. And it's only been not even 2 days. And she's already second guessing everything.
One of the nastiest powers is Trick of the Light.
And her Shadow has it. And it's been fucking her investigation into the train wreck. And she's starting to pick up that she doesn't know what it is, but she knows the Shadow has a hand in it. And so she's starting to get paranoid and get people to come behind her and say if they saw that or heard that or whatever, because she doesn't trust what she hears and sees.
Yeah, because Trick of the Light allows the Shadow to change anything about a scene that the psyche sees, the sight, sounds, all of it, to something that's not reality. And that means that she can't trust her own senses. Now, it costs angst to do it, and her Shadow burns through angst quite a bit. With that one, but it works well.
A little inside baseball on Noah and how he's feeling. To kind of, I know what you're asking, Tice. He in his head he's like, okay, my Shadow's not talking to me a lot. Their Shadows are talking a lot better. I have it more under control, ironically, than these weirdos.
That's what he thinks.
Yeah, he's right. I'm not saying it's right, but it's like, okay, my Shadow's not like trying to bug me too much. They seem to be having conversations all the time with theirs. I must be doing pretty good, all things considered. And that's probably very wrong.
I will point out that Tark has started agreeing with his fucking Shadow, which is frightening.
Right. Some of us have started listening and agreeing with Shadows, because there's even been a moment or two that Alexis has agreed with her Shadow. But Tark has been like just going full bore on that, and that's scary.
I don't think any player here, as a player, I can honestly say that they feel their Shadow is getting the upper hand yet.
Not yet. It's too soon. It's too soon. They're too newly dead. So.
And again, with like Aurora's, her goal isn't to try and come off like they're getting an upper hand. He's trying to be like best friends with her, and rather than go like the mean way, go the gaslighty, like, oh yeah, you're not dead, but like, hey, you're doing real great here. Just like, listen to me, I can help you out. Things will be fine.
Imagination Ascendant, I will address that. Imagination Ascendant talked about the shadows seem very strong or strident from the start. Actually, they weren't. I did not give them all the points at character creation the shadows were supposed to have. The shadows did not get all of their freebie point character creation points until the 5th episode.
So they talked big game, but they couldn't really
They
back
didn't have
it
many
up.
powers. But the powers they did have, the players at the table made very judicious use of them.
Yeah, they were very strong in the snark. You're right, Danny Ducat. There are some very snarky shadows at this table, for real. There are some that are just aggressive, but that's the type of shadow that they're playing, is an aggressive shadow, and that's perfectly fine, and it makes for good drama because sometimes that snark lands, and when it does, holy hell, you see the faces drop, you see conversations just come to a halt. I mean, it's awesome.
Taylor Mercury had a question. I think with Tam being gone, it might be more directed at Raylan.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't see the question. Which one was it?
No,
Sailor Mercury.
The large paragraph from Sailor Mercury.
Oh, I got it. Okay. Honestly, I find Isaac and Alexis's dynamic kind of sweet. What with Alexis's hard exterior and shitty ex situation, was this intended? I forget which character mentioned marriage on the other side, but considering everyone's partners who are left behind, it seemed romantic relationships are a really big thread theme in the game. Okay, so I will tell you one thing. Playing in a Shanky game, you are not going to get a happy romance out of it, so don't even try.
What?
He will do everything he can to make your relationship fail in the most heartbreaking way possible in his games.
Because this
is World of Darkness.
Of darkness.
Right.
Not like,
This
not
is
love.
Nobody gets a happy
Snarkness.
ending. Okay, but I will say the dynamic between Alexis and Isaac was not intended. It was not pre-planned. It happened organically from the first session. The first session when we were on the train before the crash, before we died and became wraiths, he had Isaac being the charming, empathetic, nice bartender that would try to cheer people up as he's serving their drinks. And Alexis was in a very bad situation. She just had her husband of 25 years served divorce papers because he had not only cheated on her, he knocked up his girlfriend. And she basically was getting her comeuppance, but she was not okay with this. This was a whole lifetime that she felt she had wasted, and so she was not in a very good place on this train, and she asked for a strong drink, and basically he built up this, banter with her a little bit, and they just kind of latched onto each other after death. He kind of leans on her and she kind of leans on him a little bit. But then as we got to the end, sometimes they also lock horns together because they're both very strong personalities. So,
and for those who haven't watched the stream and they're coming into the Q&A from the raid and everything, we started this season 1, the very first episode. They were not dead. They were all alive. Mm-hmm. They started as living people on a train, going for whatever their reasons were on this train. And then I killed them at the halfway point of the episode. And from there, things took a dark turn.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, there was a little bit of predetermined character interlinking a little bit between Alexis and Noah, because the whole premise of them being on the train was Alexis was an FBI agent that had used a assumed name to reach out to him to get some information to him on a case that she was working on that she couldn't prosecute. Basically, it's information that she found during the investigation that she couldn't actually prosecute, but she knew if she got it to a reporter, it could get in the court of public opinion and really be effective. And this reporter just happened to be in a situation where he would really want this intel because it may save his fucking career. So basically, Dan and I had a little bit of conversation behind the scenes before we started playing about how we were going to interlink these two characters a bit, but it wasn't really in depth, and you can even see through the role play that we do that they don't really know each other, because they don't. They were
No.
She was an
They clash.
anonymous contact. And so basically, yeah, there's kind of, she's an FBI director, well, assistant director. So, but she was head of this big case that her department was working on. And she had profiled him. She already knew the asshole he might have been. But,
Was very nice.
And talking about prearranged stuff, I've made no secret of it. This is a streamed game. It is designed from the ground up as a streamed game. Yes, we are playing the game. We're not at a table together, of course, because, it's hard to get enough Wraith players in one location, to be honest. But because this was a streamed game, there are certain plot lines that do get prearranged because it's about, as I've said before, making sure it's a good show, that the viewers enjoy the story being told and the players get a chance to say their story. But while it is, some parts are prearranged in terms of general story, I think everybody here at this table can tell you they never know exactly what I'm about to lay on them.
He gives us bare minimum information. He gives us just enough to say, okay, I'm thinking of doing this with your character's story. What do you think about that? And we're like, oh, yeah, cool.
Like Noah knew ahead of time before it came up in the episode that his wife was pregnant. That was all he knew. Not where it would be revealed, not the twins, those kind of things. And that way, when it happened, he could be ready for it. But so that he could put a good story, part of that to it. But he didn't know some of the other stuff I was doing to him that same episode.
Tice, I think that your question kind of plays into this, because I think while this isn't scripted, I think there is value in having some of those heads up about story beats that are coming up, rather than being completely surprised. Because while we're not, like I said, we're not scripted, it's still kind of a show. We're trying to make something that's entertaining for people. Because, if I just watched my home game for some of this stuff, no one would give a shit, and it would be really boring. It'd be really boring.
Yeah.
So trying to have some of those heads up where you can, like, knowing that my wife was pregnant, that led to the idea of the Danny Boy stuff.
Right.
And that might not have happened otherwise. But I didn't know anything between point A and point Z there. Like,
And
all
I
the
refer to it
history.
as there's a difference. There's a table game. Everyone knows a table game. It's what everyone plays. There's actual play, and then there's performance play. It's a spectrum. If you watch something like, say, LA by Night,
Performance.
they're pure performance play. Those are all actors playing the game. If you watch some of the other streams, DC by Night, it started as, which is the vampire stream we did here on McStabber Studios, it started as a table game, a pure table game. So you heard all the out of character, the table banter, the jokes, the carrying on. But we try to straddle that line between a performance and
An actual.
actual play. We're more actual play than performance, but there are considerations that you do for a stream, and that's some of them that is. Just like at a table game, you can pass notes amongst the players. You don't do that on a stream because the viewers won't know what the hell's going on.
Right. Right.
One of the interesting things that I think about Wraith in particular is I think this game works almost better on like a stream or a Discord or a Zoom than it would in IRL, because when you're watching the screen with all the people, when somebody puts their mask up, it's very obvious. Usually, it's very easy to see. But if you're say, you can also do that.
Yeah.
But if you're like in person, you might be talking to somebody over here. If somebody puts a mask on over here,
You won't notice.
I won't notice until
Right.
somebody says so. So I think this actually works really, really well, and I like the format we have for this.
And I definitely think that, and going to your kind of question, Tice, about what's your view on role playing on stream versus role playing off screen. Now I can only speak for myself. Everyone has their own opinions, but I will say that I personally enjoy role playing on stream more than I do off stream. And that's mainly because I have found, at least in the games that my husband runs or like Tamshu runs, I've even played with Tiss, who is our D&D GM. She's also run some she's run some streamed one-shots of other games that I've played in as well.
She's doing Call of Cthulhu coming up.
Yep, she's doing Call of Cthulhu coming up. I had the absolute pleasure of playing a Monster of the Week one-shot with her, and she was amazing. Basically, I have found that the quality of the role play is usually better when it's streamed, and it's more immersive when it's streamed, for me, at least. I mean, I can only speak to myself. And it's definitely less... It's just off the rails and, pun intended, but off the rails kind of dumpster fire type games. And I have been in some non-streamed on Zoom games, or even, other types of games where it goes dumpster fire. And I don't enjoy those. I just don't, because I don't like playing the crazy champion type game. And that's just my style though.
And Tice, just a real quick answer to that. The viewers can't influence our game. At least not Wraith or the ones I run.
Pre-record.
Because I pre-record the games. Now, the advantage of that is when you watch the Wraith game, the players are in chat to talk about it, where they normally wouldn't be able to chat much with the viewers. They're in chat to talk about their feelings on the game, why they did things, why they didn't do things, how things could be different based on dice. But because it's pre-recorded, no. And if it is a live when I'm running, I do not allow donations to influence the game.
Nope.
The players choose their story.
That breaks character. Honestly, I find that breaks character. If I'm playing an actual live streamed game and I'm paying attention to chat, because chat's going to influence my actions, I'm not actually playing my character. I'm playing the character chat wants me to play.
And if you're allowing a donation to buy somebody, say, a crit, natural 20, I can see the purpose for charity games. Totally makes sense. It's a great way to raise money.
Yeah.
100% behind that. But for a standard game, I don't believe in that, because as storyteller, I refuse to alter my dice. The dice as they're rolled are what they are. And when you start allowing money to change dice, you are breaking the story and how the dice land.
We still do let the viewers have the XP votes at the end, but that's really
absolutely
where it comes.
And that is an influence on our characters that viewers do get. They get to vote after our sessions in our Discord of the character that they believe should get an additional XP point.
Yep.
And we tally it up before we play our next session, and the person who gets the most votes gets the XP point. And like last week's finale, we got Margot got 1 vote, and then my character Alexis got 4. So Alexis got an extra XP.
And it's pretty funny because we average about 20 viewers for
but
the
about
Wraith
5
episodes,
or 6 people.
But we only get 5 or 6 votes for.
Y'all need to vote.
More people need to vote. Because just cause.
Not just here, by the way. Please.
But you're right, Tice. It is different for every table.
It is different for every table.
Dan's got to run.
I have to run.
Yep.
It was nice talking to everybody.
Dan.
Right.
Have a good night. And
I will fix your camera after you disappear, because you've got something to do, but I can fix your camera, so it's okay.
Okay.
I'm fixing to have to be in the same way, so.
Yeah, we're going to have to wrap it up,
We are
honestly.
actually going to have to wrap it up, because
So-
we try to limit these to no more than 2 hours.
Yep.
So, but thank you all so much for tuning in for our Q&A after the session. Oh, we lost everybody.
I'm going to fix it.
Okay.
I just said that. Give me 1
I
second to
did
fix
want to
this.
make a comment about the Isaac
role play?
Alexis thing.
Oh, yeah.
Dave's been taking notes. Dave's
Really?
gonna twist that shit at some point.
I'm waiting for it. I'm ready.
See, Dave takes more notes than I do for Margot.
Okay, we need to get our people back
I'm
up here, because
fixing
they're
it.
talking and nobody can see them.
Yeah.
See, look, now they're just out of order. It's
Now they're
okay.
just out of order. Okay,
I
we'll
can
fix
fix
that.
the order.
Dan,
We can fix the
boy.
pointer out of your nose.
The pipes are calling.
Yeah, I'll fix it. Just keep doing your thing.
But yeah, so I and that's great that, basically Isaac's shadow will be taking notes on this, not romantic relationship, but almost friendship that's budding between Alexis and Isaac, because Alexis ain't romantic partnership material for anybody. Let's be real. She is so fucking damaged. But yeah, and so basically that's great. I mean, that's great fodder for the Shadow to basically pick that apart and you know, make them second guess everything. You know, why is she being nice to you? You're not, you know, on her level, you know?
And there's a whole thing with Isaac's backstory that I can't get into here.
Yeah.
But there are dynamics at play that are gonna.
I hate to say it, it almost made me wonder if he looks at Alexis almost like a mother figure.
No.
Oh no.
Because she's older. I mean, I'm playing an older than even me character. She's like, you know, late 40s, almost 50. So, yeah.
Oh my goodness, Sailor Mercury, Dave the Nice Thing Destroyer. I think that's the nicest thing anyone said so far about Dave.
Now we're just go around the table and let, because we've got to call this off. If you have any other questions, honestly, join us on the Discord. Everybody in this cast is active on Discord. I am very active as McStabber Studio, of course. Lynn is active. We have a great Discord. Everyone's really friendly, supportive. So we're active on there if you have any other questions. But we're going to close this now with letting, if anyone has anything to say. Margot, you got anything that you want to say in closing?
Thank y'all for watching our game, and thank Shanky and Relin and everyone for playing with me and getting the opportunity to play on here. And it's been a whirlwind couple of months. Just so y'all know, I never streamed before this stuff. So this is amazing, and I love you all.
Playing with you, Margot.
Evie, do you have anything to say for closing?
Who? Which one?
Evie.
Oh, I thought you said Yurian.
Nope.
Yeah, I was very skeptical of this game working with this dynamic. And I'm very, very happy it works so well. I had a blast. I had some health troubles that kept me out of a couple of games, and honestly, that sucks. I'm trying as best I can to make sure I can make every single game next season, because oh my god, I love this game. And thank you so much to Shanky for, you know, letting me come in here, let me do my thing. And thank you, Relin, same thing. And thank you everyone for playing, and thank you everyone for watching, because this is such a cool game. I've never even seen anything like this before. So to be able to actually play it is so cool.
I'm going to interject real quick, Lance, because there was a comment in chat. Imagination Ascendant, late 40s to 50s old. Thanks for that. I'm not saying late 40s to 50s is actually old, but I am playing the oldest freaking character at the table at 48.
I'm right in the middle of that age, by the way. I am actually 45. So I've been playing since our game since 81.
Everyone else
is
is like, you know, 30s, 20s. And I'm like, Alexis is like almost 50 and close to retiring from the Fed, you know, from FBI. So. All right. So, Lance, do you have anything to say in closing?
I just wanted to thank everybody for watching us. This has been a blast so far. This is my second outing on a streamed Chronicle, and I'm loving it. I just want to thank Shanky too for making it such a great story. I mean,
you also
really
got to thank me for forcing you to get on that first stream, because
Yeah,
or
I
forcing
do.
you to play Vampire, because otherwise you'd still be playing Pathfinder and wouldn't have gotten to play Vampire.
and this is much better.
All right. And Sailor Mercury, I will take care of your last question in my little bit of closing. We will be back for season 2. Season 2, right now, we are projecting will be returning after the holidays. So we're looking at possibly January when we'll be starting back up. Actual official notice of when we are coming back up is pending, but that will be announced first in our Discord. So please do join us and hang out in the Discord with us, because all the cool kids hang there and they get all the first news about everything, including games that they could possibly play in. So
We cast our streams from Discord. So if you're a member of the Discord community, we cast our streams from there.
yes, we do. And we encourage people who have not streamed or not streamed with us to apply to games so that they get a moment to shine.
Because we like to allow Discord members to be in our games. We don't put it behind a Patreon. We just like to spread it around and get a chance to play with new people.
Shodi says it's too long. It's not too long. We're going to be doing Vampire the Masquerade Chicago game soon.
Yep.
Yeah, that's going to be
Chicago's
so
That's
good.
coming up.
I'm so ready.
And we've got, from the Discord, we had 32 people apply to be in the Chicago game.
For Vampire.
For Vampire the Masquerade Chicago game from the Discord. And we pared that down to a 6-player cast with, I think it actually ended
As
up being 11
guests.
Mm-hmm. So we will have a total of 17 different people playing
Yep.
the 6 core, and then a rotating cast of guests that
Of
get to come in
recurring
and
guests.
out over the Chronicle. If you're on the Discord, you will recognize a number of the names who end up being guests because they're from the Discord.
Definitely check out our streams. We have our schedule posted here on Twitch. Once we go offline, you will see it. And we also have the schedule posted in our Discord. We have streams on Tuesday nights. It's usually Haunted Chronicles, but we also have a monthly chronicle on Tuesday nights of a 7th Sea campaign, which is basically pirates or privateers. So yeah, that's a fun game. And then we also do random one-shots on Tuesdays or Friday nights. We have this week coming up on Friday. We have 10 Candles, a one-shot run by Tam Shu, and it's going to be awesome. I'm actually playing in that, and I cannot wait because the last one he did like 2 weeks ago was freaking amazing, and I'm like, I gotta play in that game. So
Yeah, 10 Candles is awesome.
yeah, so that'll be 8 p.m. on Friday. And then on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern, we have Tiss running her Norse-inspired D&D 5e game, which is called Ishvel. And they kind of took a darker turn last week. So we're getting spooky up in here for this month of October.
So we don't just do dark games like Wraith. We've got dark games. We've got D&D.
Got the 7th Sea that's
Seven
not
Seas.
incredibly dark.
Right. So we do
yeah.
a variety of things to try to make sure that no matter what you enjoy, we have something.
We have
for
something for you. Next week, on top of our normally scheduled games, we do have a one-shot for Werewolf that Ravenna, Squishy Bear up here, is going to be running, and that's going to be fantastic. So we're going to be basically playing some werewolves that are down in the sticks of Texas. So that ought to be fun. And then the following week on the 16th, I am running a charity one-shot. It's going to be my first game I've ever run of Bluebeard's Bride, which is a gothic horror game based on the fairy tale of Bluebeard's Bride. So that one, I'm raising money for the Breast Cancer Foundation during that stream. So that one.
I am still eyeballing what I'm going to be running for a spooky game in October. I've been reading the rules for a game called Knights Black Agents. And think Born Supremacy, Vampire Hunters.
Nice.
Oh, that sounds
From
so
what I've
cool.
read of the rules, I think it will translate well for a streamed game. I just have to finish reading through and making sure I can do it, and then we will be casting that off the Discord.
And if
for
you are
October.
brand new to this Wraith stream tonight from a raid or anything like that, you can check out the entire season on YouTube, and I'm about to post that YouTube link. Also, I would like for everyone here to go to the other links in the YouTube link post there, because if you give subscribes, which are free on YouTube, to Haunted Chronicles and Ishvel, once we get them up to 100 apiece, we are going to be giving away live 2 $30 gift cards to Drive Through RPG. So 2 people will be able to get some free money to get roleplay games.
Yeah, because we're tired of summoning Cthulhu every time we try to pronounce their URLs. We want to get the short URL, and to get the short URL on YouTube, you just need 100 subscribers on YouTube. So.
Yep. So basically, once those 2 channels both get up to 100, we will be giving away gift cards to Drive Through RPG on stream live to 2 folks.
Yep.
So
Other things, if you're looking for good content, check out our chat right over there. Sorry, I'm doing it already, messing it up. These are other channels that stream that we like. A number of them. Macabre Derek does a visceral vampire game on Sundays. RPG Table does a Chicago game on Saturdays. Q Times, good Lord, Q Times has so much content. I mean, it's almost nightly. Sanguine _ Nights, he does Vampire on
and
Wednesdays.
Vancouver
earlier
by
in the
Night
day.
does that, and Vancouver does a lot of charity streams.
Anime
too.
Panda, you see her on every week on Haunted Chronicles.
And 7C.
And 7C, she does her own stream where she does paint or body painting, and she does games, and she even has a D&D game on there. So, you know, we spread the love. You know, us here at McStabber Studios love spreading it around.
We love to spread the love around and support people that are, you know, part of our community. Also, if you would like to follow any of us on Twitter, you can find those links right there in chat.
Yep.
All right.
Only thing else I have to say is, in the words of Chops, mental health is no joke. Please take it seriously. Don't assume your friends, your family, and everybody are okay. Please reach out to your friends and family. Reach out to your loved ones. Make sure they're okay. Even your not so loved ones. Reach out and make sure they're okay, especially in these times. And if you are someone who suffers from mental illness, you can't always bear that alone. Feel free to reach out to people because you need that lifeline sometimes. And you need to take care of yourself and your health and your mental health because it's no joke. And Chops isn't playing in this game, so I say it for him because I take it seriously as well. And if anyone else has any final words, I think there's ones that Tam says that's not here.
Don't touch yourself.
Stop touching yourself, please.
And then Dan has one he's not here to say. So who wants to say Dan's exit line? Don't listen to the voices.
Yeah, don't listen to the voices.
So,
thank you, everyone, for joining
you
us
all.
tonight. And thank you so much to the viewers that tuned in for season 1 with us. We have loved playing Wraith. We all went into this unsure if this would actually go off well, and it turned out to be one of our favorite games to play.
Yep.
So thank you so much for enjoying this story with us.
And we will see you for season 2 after the holidays are done.
And I'll see you Friday when I'm getting killed by Tam and 10 candles.
Because
Bye.
no one
you'll be
survives
fine.
contained.
You'll die. You're gonna die.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.